The Buffalo Bills just delivered their most dominant defensive performance of the entire season in Week 8 against the Carolina Panthers. It wasn't just good, it was statement football. 3 takeaways. 7 sacks. 9 quarterback hits. A defense that had looked flat and uninspired for most of the year suddenly came alive, hungry, fast, and ruthless. But what changed? Many around the league believe the answer lies on the sideline, in the headset, to be exact. There's growing buzz that head coach Sean McDermott may have quietly taken back defensive play-calling duties from coordinator Bobby Babich. When asked after the game if that rumor was true, McDermott downplayed it, saying, "Bobby and I have done it together. We really have, and that'll continue. Bobby's a great coach. We've done it together and we'll keep doing it together." It's interesting how he emphasized the word "together" again and again, almost as if trying to calm speculation. But let's be honest, that kind of dominant performance doesn't just happen overnight. It felt like McDermott's fingerprints were all over it. The discipline, the blitz timing, the energy, it screamed classic Sean McDermott football. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. If this version of the Bills' defense is here to stay, then McDermott's decision might have saved their season. For the first time in weeks, Buffalo looked like a team ready to hunt again, and that should terrify the rest of the AFC. It turns out, Sean McDermott's fingerprints might have been on this defense earlier than anyone realized. Several analysts and film junkies noticed something unusual during Buffalo's Week 6 matchup against Atlanta. McDermott looked more involved than usual, holding the play sheet, communicating through the headset, and watching every snap like a man on a mission. Now, with his comments after the Carolina game, that suspicion has turned into confirmation. McDermott admitted he's been sharing play-calling duties with defensive coordinator Bobby Babich, but this time, against Carolina, it looked like he was fully in command. And the results spoke for themselves. Buffalo's defensive front exploded, 7 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and 18 total pressures on Andy Dalton. They didn't just rush, they swarmed. A.J. Epineza jumped a short pass and came up with a rare interception from the defensive line. Michael Hoy forced a fumble, and the Bills pounced on it. Every snap felt like a statement, aggressive, fast, and relentless. What made it even more impressive was who they shut down. Carolina entered the game as one of the better rushing teams in the league, consistently creating big gains early in drives. But against Buffalo, they were completely smothered. The Panthers averaged just 1.3 yards before first contact, and only managed 2 runs over 10 yards all game. Every time they tried to break free, a Bills defender was right there, wrapping up, finishing tackles, and setting the tone. Sure, Andy Dalton isn't the most mobile quarterback anymore, and some of those sacks came easy, but that doesn't take away from how locked in this defense was. The discipline, the gap control, the timing, it was elite football. Whether McDermott is officially calling the plays or not, his influence is crystal clear. The defense that once looked hesitant now looks fearless, and if this is the version of the Bills we'll be seeing moving forward, the AFC just got a serious problem. Sean McDermott isn't new to this game, or to calling his own defense. The Bills' head coach may be keeping things quiet publicly, but history tells the story for him. He's taken over defensive control before, including stretches under former coordinator Leslie Frazier, and again last season when he acted as Buffalo's de facto defensive mind. So when the headset came back on and the defense suddenly turned ferocious, it felt more like a return to form than a surprise. McDermott knows exactly how to get this defense playing with that signature Buffalo edge, fearless, physical, and ready to take risks. And that couldn't come at a better time, especially with the Kansas City Chiefs looming on the schedule. The Bills seem to be rediscovering that mean streak they've been missing, and it's showing in both their scheme and their personnel. Injuries have forced some lineup adjustments, but they may have uncovered new strengths along the way. With Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano sidelined, Shaq Thompson and Dorian Williams stepped in at linebacker and brought much-needed energy. Both played fast, decisive football, attacking gaps and finishing plays. Jordan Poyer, stepping up in relief of Taylor Rapp, was steady as ever, controlling the back end and erasing deep threats. Meanwhile, Michael Hoy, back from suspension, made his presence felt immediately, logging 40 snaps and playing like a man possessed. A.J. Epineza also earned a larger share of reps, 28 snaps along the defensive front, and made the most of them, disrupting the backfield all afternoon. The rotation up front finally looks deep, balanced, and capable of staying aggressive late into games. What's most encouraging is that this defensive surge isn't just about a play-calling change. It's about leadership, accountability, and a renewed sense of identity. McDermott has his players flying to the ball again, playing with trust and physicality. This isn't the hesitant, reactive group we saw early in the year. This is a defense built to dictate the game, not just survive it. And as Buffalo prepares for their toughest stretch of the season, that shift might be the spark that turns their year around. In truth, head coach Sean McDermott appears to be navigating this development with tact. Meanwhile, veteran safety Jordan Poyer has filled in strongly, maintaining structure and shutting down big threats. Up front, the rotation has deepened. Michael Hocht returned and looked explosive, logging heavy snaps, hunting the quarterback, and helping to shift the edge. A.J. Epineza also reclaimed more defensive line workload, reinforcing an edge presence that the Bills had lacked earlier in the season. What this all points to is that this run-of-game win, the dominant showing against the Carolina Panthers, was far more than just a play-calling tweak. It was an identity reset. The Buffalo Bills defense is no longer reacting, it's initiating. And as long as McDermott's scheme, his coaching voice, and the personnel align, this unit looks ready to meet the moment. The energy along Buffalo's defensive line against Carolina was undeniable. Every player seemed to rise to another level, and it wasn't just about one or two standout performances. The entire unit fed off a renewed sense of purpose. A big part of that came from two returning faces. Michael Hoy, whose intensity lit a spark last week, was joined by Larry Ogunjobi, making his first appearance after suspension. With Ed Oliver sidelined due to injury, Ogunjobi stepped into a major role, and while he didn't fill the stat sheet, his impact was felt in the trenches. He anchored the middle, held his ground against double teams, and gave the Bills something they'd been missing, pure stability inside. That consistency is what defines Ogunjobi's game, strong base, gap discipline, and the kind of reliability that keeps the defense balanced. Even without flashy numbers, that interior strength allowed Buffalo's edge rushers to play faster and more aggressively. You could feel it, the line's overall floor had been raised. But Oliver's injury does create a new challenge. If his bicep issue keeps him out for most of the regular season, Buffalo might need to explore reinforcements. The trade deadline is closing in, and while wide receiver help has been discussed, don't rule out a move for another defensive tackle. Depth on the interior could be crucial as the Bills push deeper into the season. One potential option could be a reunion with a familiar face, Harrison Phillips. He's quietly putting together a solid season, showing the same high-effort, run-stuffing presence he once brought to Buffalo. If the opportunity arises and the price is right, General Manager Brandon Beane could consider making that call. Because when this defense is healthy, deep, and fully locked in, the Bills are a nightmare matchup for anyone in the AFC. Keeping that front line strong might be the key to sustaining their late-season surge, and to giving Sean McDermott the full arsenal he needs to keep this defense at its peak. As Buffalo looks ahead to the trade deadline, the front office faces a critical question: if a wide receiver deal doesn't materialize, should they explore adding another defensive tackle? The debate is fair. On one hand, the defensive line already looks rejuvenated under Sean McDermott's guidance. On the other, with Ed Oliver's injury lingering, an extra interior presence could fortify the defense for a playoff run. But beyond roster speculation, Week 8 was also about unsung heroes, and one of them was Reggie Gilliam. The fullback quietly played one of his best games of the season, logging a season-high 28 snaps. His impact didn't come through stats but through physicality. On multiple occasions, Gilliam sealed the edge on outside zone runs, including one block that opened a massive lane for James Cook's long touchdown. When Gilliam is healthy and active, the Bills' offense looks balanced and confident. His blocking allows Buffalo to diversify their formations, mixing heavy sets with motion, creating angles that free up the ground game. Combined with contributions from Dawson Knox and Jackson Hollister on the edge, the Bills' run game finally looked cohesive again. That commitment to physical football, pounding the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage, and setting up play action, is exactly what this offense needed. It simplifies things. If this team continues to lean into its physical identity, dominating the trenches, protecting Josh Allen, and letting McDermott's defense dictate tempo, the Buffalo Bills could be on the verge of reclaiming their place among the AFC elite.